Here we go, Jeffrey. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by the Looking Glass Duck Club. I'm Jeff Stanfield.
R.I.P. Never forget the Looking Glass Duck Club.
Maybe they're coming back.
Think so? Are you hearing things, Jeff?
I'm not going to say anything.
You're just teasing these
sealed.
poor folks.
I'm sealed shut on that.
Well, so they're coming back.
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
But we will make it official if they do on this podcast.
Oh, okay. We got an exclusive.
Yes.
We got an exclusive. Perfect. You going to introduce our guests?
I was going to let you do it.
Oh, okay.
You've been doing that lately since you're world famous.
All right. Well, on the line with us today, we got Mr. Cory Loeffler. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing awesome. How are you guys?
We're doing great. It's a fucking windy day down here in Texas. Let me tell you, you got out of here at the right time.
Corey, where you at?
Beautiful day up here in Minnesota.
Where at in Minnesota are you?
So you were over by Ely, over east. I'm like 3, probably 4 hours straight west of where you were fishing, Jeff, and a Thief River Falls area. So up in the northwest corner, I'm like 40 minutes from the North Dakota border and about an hour and 10 minutes from the big old Canadian border.
That's going to remain shut this year, don't you think?
Oh, you hate to hear it, but I think it will.
Yeah, I think so too.
I came through Detroit Lakes area, so I came south of you when I cut across.
Oh, yeah, it's only an hour and a half straight south of us. So,
well, I'll tell you what, that looks like a very good waterfowl hunting area. There's lots of pivots of corn there. Is that a pretty hot area?
So the pivots of corn probably don't play as much of an effect as just the natural funnel of this area. And you have to take a look at Google Earth or Onyx and zoom out, look at the satellite view to kind of understand what's going on. But I am right on this agriculture. I'm on a seam between agriculture to the west, and that runs all the way across the Dakotas, and then big hard timber that runs all the way east, out to Maine or whatever. So I'm kind of right on that seam, and all the honkers, all the molt migrators that are running through in early September run that seam, that agriculture seam, and eat on all that small grain. So we see our most birds and our best hunting in those first, the whole month of September, basically. And then the only crops that are off that time of year would be wheat and barley, and then maybe just a little bit, few soybean fields. So yeah, that's kind of why our area is really unique, and then that's kind of when we see our best hunting.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I liked western Minnesota a whole lot more than I did eastern Minnesota.
Okay.
Just because you could see. I was getting a little claustrophobic in the trees. And I like the more of the farmland than I do the liberal backwoods back on the other end of it.
Yeah.
It's still beautiful. That Lake Superior is really pretty, but I liked western Minnesota a lot more, and I'd never been in the northern part of Minnesota in the western end of it. So,
Now, are you close to Fergus Falls?
Fergus is like straight south of me, 2 hours.
Okay.
I can be there 2 hours.
You know Dave Reese real well, don't you?
Yeah, yep, you bet.
Yeah, he used to work.
Yeah, hunted with Dave a ton.
That's a killing machine right there.
He worked for us back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yep, you bet. I've heard plenty of stories.
Dave was a straight-laced killer. I'm telling you right now that I'm surprised Pete ain't banned his ass from even being alive anymore. The best goose hunter I've ever been around in my entire life. Yeah,
Dave knows him. I mean, he knows how to talk to him. He knows how to read birds.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of guys go wrong. Especially a lot of contest callers out there. They can run a goose call like no one else's business, but come to reading birds, and guides got that. Typically guides are going to have that over contest callers all day long. And Dave is definitely one of them. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's what's always interesting out here. You get a guy that, he might sound like $1 million on a goose call, but if he doesn't have the time out in the field, there's going to be a learning curve.
Oh yeah, big time. You got to know when to blow those notes, not just how to blow them.
Right.
That's just as important.
And Dave, I was so young whenever he was out here. I was in junior high and then maybe a freshman in high school. So my formidable years of like being a waterfowl guide, but I picked up a lot, but I don't really remember what I picked up. It's kind of one of those deals. and we had him on the podcast, and he's like, yeah, just a hide. That was always my number one concern. I'm like, motherfucker. Yep. Like, there should have been like some magical secret, and it's just like, yeah, just get your hide right, and you'll be good.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, and I hunted with him a lot down in Fergus Falls. He would have, he'd have his pit. He's got one really, really good pit right by town, and he'd always be out there, and I'd be down there. He's like, yeah, why don't you go try hunt the river at this spot? Why don't you go try hunting at this spot? Why don't you try this field? So I was a guinea pig, always running around trying new spots, and now he's guiding in all the good ones that I found. And I had a couple really, really fun spots on the river that I had stumbled across, and kind of a pain in the ass getting back to them. But it's so much fun hunting those big ass honkers on the river setting like that, where you got those tall trees that border each side of the river, and getting those big honkers broke down just like you would hunting mallards in the timber, just getting those things broke down. Like once they get in and they break the treetops, like they're not getting out of there. No. It's like shooting pumpkins floating. It's pretty easy. You'll burn their ass once they're in.
That's something that I really want to do. And one of our guides, he's in Nebraska, and he hunts the Platte a lot. And it seems like a ton of fun just hunting those lazy late season bastards on the river. But I don't know if I'll ever get to do it. Yeah, well, just go for a drive. Yeah. Venture up to the tundra. So how do you hide? You just back up into the trees on this river? Is that basically it? Yeah, we just set up an A-frame right alongside the shit. We're in the woods. I mean, we're like we're walking deer trails through the woods to go set out decoys, and it's the river's maybe like 50 yards wide, 75 yards wide in a lot of spots. So you can damn near shoot across the whole river. So it's a pretty small river running right there by the interstate in Fergus Falls. And we just drop down in there, typically there's a bunch of sandbars in there, so we throw a few sleeper shells, maybe a couple floaters, but mostly just 24 full bodies or something like that out on the river and on the sandbars. And that was usually enough. And ironically, the best hunting down there was in the mornings. Birds would be going from water to water in the mornings, even if they weren't feeding till last light, and guys hunting out in the fields around the area are getting their asses kicked because they're waiting for them to come out to feed, and we'd be whacking them down there on the river. They're just flying around. I haven't really dove into biologically why they're doing that, but it's just to get up, stretch around, go from one roost to another. Maybe they don't want to drink where they're shitting and sitting all night. I'm not real positive, but whatever the reason was, it worked, and it still works. So it's a lot of fun. I wonder if that's something if it has to do with like maybe if the water that they're on is kind of closing up around them, and maybe they're not getting as much fresh water as what they need. So maybe they go to this freshwater source to get a drink. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know biologically. So it's basically just like a traffic hunt. They're just cruising up and down that river. You don't have to get where they're landing on the river or anything like that. You just kind of get them as they're cruising by. Yeah, not usually. And if you do bump some birds off of the river, there'll probably only be, up to maybe 50 of them down there. It's not like a really popular spot for them to hang out. But if you put some decoys down there and with the right calling and some aggressive calling, and those birds are flying over the top, it just piques curiosity and works for whatever reason. They just come bombing in there. So, and you get to walk with your head up high to the coffee shop. Guys have their ass kicked out in the field, and here you are, you're done and going on better things. Yeah, you bet. So, we had a guy on, he was from Minnesota, and he was talking about hunting the molt migrators. It sounds like a blast. You time it, from what he said, you time it with like a big north wind where there's going to be a big migration day, and you just watch these fucking things roll over you sky high. You throw every note at them, and you get them to break down from miles away. Yeah, I mean, you'll call it molt migrators similar to how you guys are screaming at little lessers down there. You act like there's as much activity on the ground as possible just to get their attention, get them to break down. But no, those molt migrators, a lot of guys know about them. But for those of you that don't know what the hell they are, it would be like a sexually immature bird. Typically it is sexually immature, up to 2 years old. And then there will be some older ones mixed in there. And I don't know if that's because a mate dies or nesting is unsuccessful.
on their nesting grounds. That's say like in the lower 48. So then they just rip up to Canada. They catch a south wind and get up there, do their molting, and then they're coming back. But typically in my area, that's the first, right around the 7th to 11th of September is when we're going to see big pushes of those. And like you said, yeah, you just wait for that good north wind, and roosts around the area are going to fill up like crazy. You can go hunt all day long. You want to run a bunch of decoys and throw the whole kitchen sink at them. And they're pretty stupid birds. They're pretty naive because they haven't been shot at much at all. They don't have mom and dad leading the flock. So some of the most frustrating birds can be those resident honkers that have mom and dad leading them. And that nesting pair might be 15, 20 years old, and they've seen everything. But then you get these molt migrators that come down, and the average age of the whole flock is like 1.5 years old, and it's party on for the most part. So
how high are these birds flying?
Gosh,
they're cruising. I mean, they would be.
Yeah, they're up there.
If it weren't for you, they would just be migrating on by, right?
Yeah. However, wherever they find it most efficient to cruise, whatever
they're way
altitude
up there,
that
though.
is.
I mean, they're at 5,000 feet
yeah.
or 10,000. They're not. You're not just shooting. You're not just trafficking birds that are flying by at 1,000 feet.
I've seen them at 1,000 feet. I've seen them at a couple thousand feet. Like it's in that range. I don't know. I haven't flown my paraplane enough to know how high.
But they're
high
fuckers. But they're up there.
They're up there.
Now there's a lot of pressure because a lot of other people doing the same thing at the same time, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the population density up here is so low that it's nothing like we live 5 hours from Minneapolis, so that's too far for those guys to drive to come up here, and that's where everyone lives in Minnesota, is in the metro Minneapolis, St. Paul area. So up here it's pretty desolate, and you don't have to worry about too many guys hunting molt migrators in one area, that's for sure.
Now, are you running all A-frames, or do you have pits set up there?
So I was running A-frames a few years ago, and then I built a trailer blind, or I built a few trailer blinds. So that's it's like an A-frame that hook onto my truck, and it lowers down to the ground. A couple of them that I built have hydraulics in them, so they just sit right on the ground. And then we throw ghillie blankets over the tires and over the tongue. All the decoys go right inside of the trailer. Just transport them out there like that, drop the trailer off, drive the truck out of the field. All the decoys are right in there. We go do the musical chairs, decoy shuffle, and rip those things out of the trailer, throw them out, and we're going for it. So that's how I like to hunt, because then you're sitting on a bucket shooting geese and cooking breakfast. I got flat top in there and always bring breakfast and hot coffee. So it's super comfortable. You can hide from them a lot better if you're utilizing other stuff, some ground blinds in some fields, or ground blinds in a fence row or field edge or something like that. But I'm getting old. I don't care about it anymore that much. I'm not as mad at them as I used to be. So I'd rather have hot breakfast.
I've sworn off fucking layouts. I spent several seasons
You're screwing
in
up right now. Because sometime next year you're going to have to hunt layouts.
No. I will every once in a while. But I spent like 3 solid years in a layout every fucking morning. My back at the end of that year was so jacked up, and I guess when I get down into that into the layout, my feet like splay out wide, so my hips were fucked up too. So when we started switching to the A-frames, I was a lot happier. But this fucking trailer blind that you got sounds like $1 million. You just hook it up
it's so comfortable.
And you just roll out. Yeah.
I mean, our setup times, if there's a farmer around here, so we're just freelance hunting most of the time up here. And if we're hunting, I mean, we'll get beat to the field all the time because it only takes us like 15 minutes to get the whole damn thing set up and you're hunting. So all these other kids that are running ground blinds that show up to the field 2 hours before sun, it's like, oh, damn it, plan B again. So that's the only bad part, is that we sleep in. It's bad if you get to sleep in, I guess. But
no. Tell me about this trailer again now. How are you covered on the sides of it?
looks like an A-frame. I mean, it looks like a 20-foot long A-frame. That's what it pretty much looks like. And then it raises up and lowers down. So what kind of fish house were you guys fishing in when you were up in Minnesota? Was it one of the big sleepers?
Freaking castle. That some bitch is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's got the same frame in it as that ice castle.
Huh, that's interesting. So, but
you understand how?
But how?
You know how that?
Yeah, but how do you
brush wise?
You have to brush it in and stuff all the time.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I built it with metal sides, and then I attached kind of a cool little mesh system on the outside. So yeah, it's all brushed in. It's all it's got a grid pattern brush holder basically. So we're stuffing cattails in there. Down there, guys hunt with a couple of them that I built around Lubbock, and they're just running tumbleweeds in them. And so the thing looks like a 70s porn bush rolling down the road because it's just full. And that's what the name of it is. But,
70s
it's just
porn bush.
rolling down the road.
So there's some guys in Texas who are using one that you built?
Yeah, yep.
That's interesting.
The 35-footer down there.
Wow.
The guys at Tejas Waterfowl has just been bought and sold within the last few years here, and so those guys are running that one down there, and they run it's Matt Schauer and Shane Erdman and those guys, and then they run a couple different operations. They run one in Texas and Saskatchewan, and then in the United States chasing snow geese. So they run under a few different names, but that's where you'll find.
So they got a 35-foot rolling blind.
It's a hell of a fucking setup right there.
That one's.
You're gonna have to text me this whenever we're done here, because Jeff's brother, my uncle, he's a gadget guy. So this might be an off-season project for Mr. Tony Stanfield.
Right. I'll sell you mine. I'll come swing up and hunt some honkers, and you can take that.
Just take yours home.
Yeah.
The problem is the customers that don't get to go on it would bitch.
Oh, right.
It would be a bitch fest all the time.
We had to set up 5 fucking A-frames and da-da-da-da. I can hear it now.
Yeah, we just pulled right in. And
everything was ready to go.
It's efficient. It's efficient as hell. That is for sure. That's what I like about it. I don't have to. I'm too busy. I'm shipping so many calls during September that I can't be screwing around, like waking up at 3 a.m, driving an hour to the field and doing all that stuff, and then driving an hour home with a really long setup and a really long tear down and whatever. Like 3/4 of the day is shot. I have to get home as fast as I can after the hunt, and then get in the call shop and sell some call or ship some calls, because orders are flying in like crazy. So if I hunted, like most other guys out there with layout blinds and I was really pissed at them, and I'd just be pissing customers off left and right by not getting calls out. So
you almost had to do
where it all stemmed from.
You almost had to do this out of necessity then, just so that you could feed your passion. Yep, absolutely.
I'm trying to think.
I'm always looking for
more
efficient ways.
How many people can you put in a 35-footer?
12. Yeah, he'd be the guy to ask.
Yeah, those guys hunt 12 really comfortably. I think they crammed. I did a buddy hunt with like 15 or 16 guys one time, and they're like, that's pushing it. That's max.
We met our max.
So
I'm just thinking about. That's really a good idea.
Yeah.
The problem I see on it is getting some bitch stuck.
Well,
and there'll be certain places
you got to be smart with it.
But a 35-foot brush line looks better than a 6-foot brush line, I think.
Sure.
I think it looks more natural.
Far. Yeah, absolutely.
I've had guys before that, and we're going to run 2 groups together, and we're running 7 A-frames or some shit, and they'll be like, well, isn't that a little too much right there? No, it looks more natural than it does if you just had one little A-frame over there.
Right.
Yeah.
It blends. It makes a bush row out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that
absolutely.
Does theirs have a cook's top and all that shit in it?
They don't, because they supply meals and whatnot. So
look, I do enough. I'm not cooking fucking breakfast in the field. I'm
I'm
drawing a line.
I wouldn't want all that in there, because that's a lot more. It'd make it a lot heavier, anyways. I just was curious.
We did. So we have Mrs. Baird's cinnamon sugar donuts are the fucking best in the world, and I've got those buddy heaters. So when those grills get nice and hot, I'll throw on a couple donuts. That is as far as my cooking goes in the blind. I'm not doing it. I'll pass one down to the end of the blind every once in a while to a guy. I'm not doing fucking flapjacks and eggs. It's not happening. Busy enough, Jeff.
You need to get Mrs. Baird's to sponsor you with the cinnamon donuts that you cook every morning on the deal.
She's a prude.
She's a prude, huh?
Yeah. Ugh. We all know about Mrs. Baird's. So when is a good time where you can safely get out of the shop and not have to worry about just call orders coming out of your ass?
February.
Or is there a time?
Yeah, right after Christmas, usually. It's pretty much, I can usually sneak away to hunt the whitetail rut with my bow and arrow early November, mess around with that a little bit, and then I get back, and then it's pretty much balls to the walls like the whole rest of November, all through December. And then once that's done, hopefully I can get caught up right after the new year, and then I can usually do a little bit of traveling, and works out, because then I can go south, and I was just in your guys' neck of the woods a couple different times. So
yeah, I saw you were you went somewhere in January. You did like a whole Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas kind of tour, didn't you?
Yeah, that was right after the release of the Sitka Nodak White series, and we did kind of a drop box tour that way, and hand delivered a bunch of the whites, and hit. We met up in South Dakota, Brett Amundsen and I, and then we hit Kansas, we hit Oklahoma, and Texas, and then back to Kansas, and then home. So yeah, we were on the road for a couple weeks doing that trip. That was a lot of fun.
Are you freaking out the whole time that you're away from the shop? Or are you just like, God damn,
no.
I know when I get back, like there's going to be fucking orders to go out and just all sorts of shit.
No, I don't freak out. I'm pretty low stress. It's just, it'll work itself out. My wife is awesome. She can handle everything when I'm gone, and I tuned up a whole bunch of calls before I left, so she was able to get some of the orders knocked out. And then if we're out of stock on something, we're out of stock. It's whatever. Like, it's just what it is.
How'd you get in the call business?
I was blowing contests in, I was late high school. And just after high school, I was blowing in a bunch of contests around and kind of ate up with it that way. And I just couldn't find a call on the market that fit my needs. There was something wrong with, it seemed like every call out there that I had tried. And I kind of really liked some of them. And I was a huge Tim Grounds fan back in the day. But I just struggled with a couple things. And so I just went off on my own, designed the call, the internal diameter for what I wanted to use on stage, and then the external stuff for what would feel good in hand and when you're practicing. So all of our Goose calls have that finger groove on the insert, and then oversized radius on the mouthpiece. So there's a handful of calls on the market that have like a really sharp mouthpiece, and they'll like damn near cut your mouth and cut your lips when you're blowing on them really hard, especially if you guys screaming at lessers all day, every day. And then the finger groove on the insert, that kind of came from my hand getting all sweaty and clammy and getting all nervous and shit on the contest stage, and my hand sliding around on the insert, and then your hand starts sliding around and changes the back pressure like crazy, and notes are blowing different, and it'll mess with your head more than anything. So it'll screw you up. And was kind of sick of playing around with rubber bands and hockey tape and all that shit put on there. So I just designed the insert to just basically accommodate for your pointer finger, mostly pointer finger and thumb, two fingers that hold it. So
did you mess around on like a lathe machine, or was it all, did you start out with acrylic, or how did you come up with your original design?
I drew that on paper, and then I transferred that over to the computer. And my uncle, he has, if you guys probably out of the area, but are you guys familiar with the Steiger Tractor at all? It's like a pea green. Yeah. Okay. So my uncle is Brian Steiger. His grandpa actually invented that tractor, And so they sold that to Case IH, and they make torque industrial scrapers now, torque scrapers, earth movers, ditchers. And so he's a handyman and just an absolute jack of all trades, and like one of the nicest guys in the world. It's so smart when it comes to engineering new products, and just come to him with a problem and he'll figure it out. And so I went over to him and I said, I want to make these goose calls. I got a design, and he had just bought a CNC lathe, and he said, well, I bought a lathe. I haven't turned it on, haven't plugged it in, don't know how to run it. So he handed me about 50 pounds of instruction manuals and manuals that came with the lathe. He handed me those. He goes, here you go home, read this, figure it out, and let's try and make a goose call. So that was the start of it right there. I just went home. I don't have any background in machining or anything. I mean, I would go out to his shop when I was 12, 14 years old, and I would weld up deer stands like crazy. So, I mean, I have some of that background, but as far as CNC programming and machining, I had zero background, and I just had to learn it all from a stupid programming manual, and it sucked, but got through it, figured it out, turned a couple goose calls that were horrendous, early on. My first couple ones that I spit out of the lathe were atrocious.
Do you still
so
have them?
Kind of smoothed out. What's that?
Yeah,
they're actually in the attached garage to the house. I could have had them. I could have shown them on here, but yep, I still have all the first run stuff. And then I just kept on tweaking the program and came up with that life sentence goose call. That's our longest call, honker call that we've got. That was the first one that I designed and came out with. And then from there, introduced the short drop. That was the next one. And so, yeah, that thing's been on the market since about 2007. That's what we got started with.
Were those two?
Yep. Those are the original two.
What made you go with the short drop? You figure a guy like in your neck of the woods, that would be like the last thing that you would try to tackle.
I kind of wanted to play around with making the shortest call on the market, just because I knew how responsive it would be. And I knew that high pitched sounds worked really good for killing. I wasn't positive how effective it would be on big honkers up here, but I thought I want to just try and cut like the meat and potatoes out of this life sentence and just leave the bare bones of what we need. Like just leave the finger groove on the insert and, shorten the mouthpiece way up. So I kind of did it, not like extremely intentional. I mean, yeah, the design was intentional, but I was more so screwing around to see how short I could make a goose call, and then got it real short, got it looking pretty good, and then adjusted the bore diameters to accommodate for, how it blows and the guts. And that was the start of it. It came quite a ways. It's a little bit different from original, but yeah.
So just to clarify things, is that as short as you can make a goose call?
No, I could make one shorter, but I don't know if you'd really want to blow it.
just dive right into that. Is that as short as you can do it right there?
I could go shorter, I think, but it would look a little bit weird.
How hard were the internal dimensions to get done on that?
I don't know. I think I see a new copy of the short drop come out about every year, and I don't think anyone else has done it. So for me, it wasn't too bad. I had screwed around with so many different calls in the past and blowing different calls, different guts and different reeds, and just kind of got an understanding or an appreciation for how the reed reacted to the tone board and what it did when the bores were X, either open way up or closed way down. And so then I was able to tweak it from there. But I don't know. I think I probably just took me a few days to really get it narrowed down into what I wanted originally.
I don't know what a new call company is going to do. I mean, I really don't. I don't think that there is another way that you can make a fucking goose call that hasn't already been done. I mean, in all seriousness, in 5 years, I don't know how a new call company is going to get started and have something that's fresh.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't.
I just got DM'd a bunch of text messages and DMs last week or something like that. There was guys sending over someone like directly knocked off the short drop. I was just laughing like, all right, good for you.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know. I have been surprised by this for the last 20 years.
Jeff thought it was going to stop with Tim Grounds and the half breed.
Yeah, I
he
mean,
didn't know he didn't know that was going to get any better.
Yeah, it just kept going and going and going, and it still does. And it just blows my mind. What shocks me is the amount of people that buy calls.
Yeah,
I mean, it does. I'm that way all the time. I'm like, God, how many calls does someone need? And they just keep buying and buying and buying. But
yep.
I mean, the duck call and the goose call is pretty close to the same animal it's been the last 30 years, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's been some innovations in duck call tone board design for sticking. That's been big. And as far as goose call stuff, it's just kind of been the broken guts, or the lack of broken guts, new guts. I run new guts in that short drop, not broken ones. So, but yeah, I'd agree with you.
People were better hunters in the 70s than they are today. Yeah, because the shit they had for duck calls and goose calls back then compared to what they have now, I mean,
they were hiding.
Yeah,
taking the page from Dave Reese.
There's no doubt that
sounded like shit. They were cold all the time. Their camouflage pattern didn't match, or they didn't even have camouflage.
I'm embarrassed.
Killed them with tires cut in half.
The first year I hunted, blowing a fucking goose call in front of anybody now, especially after hear somebody can blow a call.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Jeff's not very good.
No, I can't blow a goose call to save my ass. But I used to for tips all the time, and I used to get a lot of tips, but I couldn't blow a call. But the calls, other than Tim's half-breed call, there really wasn't a lot out there. I mean, there were some other ones, but it's just crazy now how good the calls are and how loud they are and how everybody can blow a call. Shit, you can go to junior high, probably in Minnesota, and find 10 kids that can blow a call as good as the average man, way better than the average man. Young guys can blow calls now too. And you just didn't see that a long time ago. But the equipment was so horrible back then.
Nobody wanted to do it.
Nobody could blow a call back then like they can. I mean, there were some, but it was just completely different. I mean, I'm sure Trevor's going to get on my ass about somebody could call back in Maryland in 1981 or something. There were some callers, but you just didn't see it like it is now.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that sets call companies apart now would be the customer service aspect and just helping guys out, because I do run across so many new people every year that are picking up a short read for the first time, or just trying to switch, just finally jumping on the short read train and switching from a flute call over to a short read. So I'm just constantly helping people with the basics and the hand placement, air presentation type stuff, and which is good to see. I like that. It's refreshing to see that there's that many new people getting involved with it.
The internet's changed it too, because before, if you had your calls, you had to sell them through Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, or something like that, or go to a hunting show. So once the hunting shows were over and you had them at Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops, you're relying on Leon, who's working the counter right there, to push your call to somebody, because there's a handful of calls under there, and he's going to push whatever he's going to push. But I think that the internet has been good for the call companies to give you so much more of a market for your stuff.
Yeah. Back when I was in the retail stores, I would get so many calls back that had guts upside down and reeds backwards and shit like that. And then I would show up to the stores if I was traveling and I was going by one. I would always stop in and blow all my calls that were on the shelf, and they all needed to be retuned. I tune them all. I tune every single one that leaves the shop, and I'd have to go there and I'd plan to be there for 5 minutes, and take me a half hour to run through all of them and retune them and stuff like that. So people are messing with them. So that was a big headache that I got. Was just people screwing with them all the time. So when I sell a call now, we're predominantly direct to consumer. There's only a couple stores that they're in. When I sell one now, I blow it, package it, ship it. It's all coming from me, so I can stand behind it.
I think that is going to continue to grow. This direct to consumer. I think the big box stores, they'll have some place, but I think most guys are just like what you're doing. There might be a handful of stores that carry it, but I mean, and that's really the only way to guarantee the quality of your craft is for you to do it, put it in a box, and get it sent on its way. Because, like you said, if 18-year-old kids fucking with it, it's not going to be right.
Yeah, Dive Bomb's kicking ass with it. Boss Shot Shells is kicking ass with it. I mean, it's proven. So,
and it's more of a waterfowl thing than anything.
Right.
I think more than any other of the hunting industries. I'm curious to see. When Max's catalog would come out this year, I would like to look at the different call makers in Max today compared to what they had 10 years ago, and if it's less calls in there now than it used to be. Because a lot of guys are pulling out.
10 years ago? Yes. It's probably less.
A lot of guys are pulling out and aren't messing with anybody anymore.
Well, you don't have to have your call in Max or Cabela's to have it get noticed anymore.
No.
Yeah, I think mine were in there right about 10 years ago now for a couple of years, and I just it was not my cup of tea. So
and it's that way with most of the people. Are you surprised that Cabela's, Bass Pro, or something like that hasn't come out with their own call?
Cabela's had some Northern Flight stuff or something, didn't they?
Yeah,
kind of did.
I think they kind of did. Because they had clothes and decoys, and I think they had their own call.
Yeah, if they were going to, I mean, they'd probably err to the injection molded stuff, polycarbonate injection molded, done and tuned and packaged in China is probably what it would be. So you wouldn't even notice it on the market for the most part. It would just be, whatever it is, what it is, junk. But I can't see any of those guys. It's such a craft and a special skill set, almost some science and some art to make an acrylic call. And there's so much more to it that I can't see Max or Cabela's coming out with one myself. But
who in the world is just now getting on the short read train? A lot of people.
People that call my phone.
Really?
Send me messages on Instagram.
I figured everybody was on that train.
Guys shooting the big birds though out of pits. A lot of those don't. Still blowing the old flutes, huh?
Yeah. Yep. Big honkers, big river stuff, and just long flute calls. Typically guys over 40 for the most part. Any kids seen it, heard it from their buddies in high school, college, middle school, so they've been fully exposed to the short read game for a while. But some of those older guys just get pissed off at the short read, so they're just like, I gotta make the switch. I gotta do it. These kids.
I used to see, but
can you help me out?
I used to have a lot of old timers would come and hunt with us, and they would show up, and they had the old flutes around their lanyards.
Different animal down here. You gotta get with the times. You're not gonna convince them with a fucking flute.
I had an old guy, and I'm not gonna say his name because he still hunts with me some, but he had one, and he thought he was fucking Elton John on a piano on that sumbitch. He'd start and he'd killing birds. Well, it wasn't because of his flute, but he just knew damn well that flute. Oh yeah, that flute was a money maker, boy. Fucking horrible. Sound like a tuba player standing behind you.
They just don't hear it out here, and that's why they react so well to it. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, bud. I can tell.
Right.
So what? When you were down here in Texas goose hunting, how was that? Did y'all have a lot of success?
We stopped in quick for one day with Toby Brolin out in Amarillo, and it was a quick stop. We had spent quite a bit of time up in Oklahoma with the boys at Falco, and we just stopped in with Toby. It was late in the season. Birds were super stale and had started to move out pretty fast, so it was a tough hunt, real tough.
When were you here in January with Toby?
Oh, about the let's call it like the 25th or so.
Okay. We still had 3 weeks of season left down here, thanks to our lovely state of Texas.
Yeah.
February 14th, the dumbest shit I've ever fucking heard of.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no fucking birds here that time of year. You saw it in January 25th, and it was getting thin.
Was John? Was John O hunting with y'all then too? Was he at Toby's?
I did not see a John. No.
He hunted with Toby the last 2 or 3 days of the season.
Okay.
No, shit, no, it would have been in February when he was here. I'm thinking, never mind. He was here during February when they hunted some fun hunts, I think.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it was whenever it started to get hot down here, which was most of the fucking hunting season until that big snowpocalypse that happened in February. It was hot most of the time, and birds were pretty quick to get out of here this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Head back north, you mean? Like
yes.
when it got warm, or did they?
Yeah, just
that's where they're headed.
By the mid-January, everything was just everything was stale down here, and everything was getting ready to go back.
Mm-hmm.
I think northern Oklahoma done really well. I think a lot of birds stayed there, but anywhere south of there, it was pretty hit and miss, other than cranes.
Yeah.
Dude,
buddies around Kansas, like Kansas Hurt Locker, that's when their hunting gets really good, is on that reverse migration when they're starting to head back north. That's when they see a lot of success there. So that'd be when you guys are losing birds and they're just on the move, new to an area. It says a lot when those birds are stuck in the same area for a while, for weeks at a time, or maybe a month or two, and they just get stale. You can't do much with them, and then you just got to get them on the move and get them to a new area, and then you can wear the shit out of them again. So
yeah, that's how it was down here. Like it would be hot and sunny, and then we could have like a cloudy day and just sort of shitty weather, and fucking it's like having new birds. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. Just that little bit of a break in the weather just got them to react totally different. How was the waterfowl as a whole from what you observed this year?
I traveled so much that I didn't really stick around home and I didn't have a very good grasp on comparing situations and migration around home like I have done in the past. I was all over the place. I started out in North Dakota in August, and then I ran down to South Dakota chasing some velvet mule deer with Simon Carlson for a while. Then I was back home hunting some early season honkers for just a little bit. Then it was I did a backwoods duck hunt where we loaded up the boat, and JJ Gustafson, Simon Carlson, and I we loaded up the boat and then headed way up the river, and then went up river for 3 days and just built a little cabin in the woods and ate all of our meals on a campfire and cooked everything on a Dutch oven, and then just duck hunted for a few days, a better part of a week, I guess, doing that. So it was just a really I did a bunch of weird shit and just a real goofy season for me. So I just wasn't home all the time, keeping an eye on roosts and bird locations and stuff. So for the most part, it was adventurous. That's for sure. We got after it and saw a lot of things. And then it was pretty much right from there. It was out to North Dakota again, taking some pictures and hanging out with some guys out there. And that was a complete rat race. That was absolutely crazy. We went to a spot in North Dakota where we thought we wouldn't see anyone. And it was the only hotel within, miles. And that whole thing was plump full of muddy trucks, and every person we saw in there had camouflage on, and there were people from Alabama and Georgia and Texas and Arkansas coming in there. And North Dakota, it's really hard to guide legally in North Dakota because your guides have to be licensed and pass a test, and you got to have an outfitter's license and all that stuff. So I don't know. I think there was some backwoods guiding going on in that area, because it's like, how the hell did all of you guys get here and fly in and have been hunting for 2 weeks, and you're flying home tomorrow and just taking a carry-on with you? It's like, I don't know. So that was interesting, to say the least. Having that border shut down, it rocked North Dakota.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that was all because of the Canadian border being shut down?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, these people would have normally been in Canada. I'll almost guarantee it, because like I said, this place that we went is freaking most random place. I had never even dreamt of going there, and we didn't think there was going to be anyone there. And that was wrong. We were wrong.
Could you get on the fields though?
Yeah, we had to scout, and we had to scout between 45 minutes and about an hour away from the hotel is like where you could start doing your scouting. There was like a black hole around where the hotel was, because it had just been beat to shit for so long that there was nothing there. And then once you got away from it, it's a pretty desolate area, so there wasn't a whole lot of fields posted. So that's North Dakota's laws. You can hunt a field if it's not posted. So we were able to get on some fields, and we shot a few geese, shot some specks, shot some honkers, and then just a handful of ducks the one day. And I had to get back to the shop, and then it was home for a couple of weeks, and then it was back to North Dakota and hunting snow geese down there, and shot a bunch of ducks doing that. And then that's when we were filming and photographing all the content and media for the Sitka Nodak whites. That was that trip. Then it was archery hunting whitetail in South Dakota for a while, and then it was back home, and I didn't leave the shop for 2 months. It was just nonstop work. I don't even think I picked up a shotgun in December. Oof. Oh, yeah, I did a little bit in Fergus Falls. I got away for like one day down to Fergus, but that was it. It was just shipping calls like mad. I can't believe. I think it was Corona related myself. Just the amount of influx of orders coming in was unreal. I couldn't keep up. So
I want to go back to the Canada deal for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of anybody selling hunts in Canada for this fall?
I mean, I got a pile of friends that are outfitters up there, but they're pretty much just trying to come up with a backup plan. And just a couple of my buddies moved down to North Dakota, started a lodge in North Dakota and doing that type of a deal. And that's what they did last year, instead of going to Canada. But no, I haven't heard of anyone pushing any hunts. Everyone's just kind of waiting on eggshells.
There's got to be a lot. A lot of them old boys are going to be out of business after this. I don't know what's going to happen. I had a guy in here today, and we were talking about it, and we're talking about the deposits. And you would carry a deposit over the next year. That's what I'd have done if I was an outfitter up there. I'd say, "Listen, we're going to move your deposits to next season." Well, last year to this year.
Right.
Well, if they don't have them this year, then you're going to move them to the next year. Well, you're going to start having guys saying, "I want my money back." And a lot of them guys don't have the money to give back.
There's no money to give.
And I mean, they've tried to, I feel sorry for them guys. That's a horrible deal. There's going to be the guy out there that can just write them a check and send it back. But I'm going to say half the guys can't do that.
Yeah.
Time they pay their bills on their lodge and everything they had to pay for anyways. It's a screwed up deal. And I don't know that it will ever be the way it was. And I don't know, and there's a lot of politics being involved now where Canada's not real happy with us, and so I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't expect it'll be this year. But I was wondering if there's anybody openly trying to sell hunts right now up there.
I haven't heard of it. The guys that are doing the best would be the Americans that own outfitter services up there, and they're able to come back down to the States and help out with their income down here and still continue on and sell their hunts down here and then pay for some of that stuff. But the Canadian citizens that have Canadian outfitting services, they're a dime a dozen right now. I mean, they're for sale. They're coming up for sale all over the place. So there's going to be, it'll once it does reopen, it'll be shaken up quite a bit, because I think there's going to be just a few really big ones and not a whole bunch of little ones anymore.
And I don't know how the guys get into North Dakota, because you have to have a guide license there and an outfitter license and stuff. And so I'm surprised so many of them have been able to get in there to hunt.
You got to plan way ahead for that one. That's for sure.
What do you do? Do you piggyback off of an existing outfitter that's already in North Dakota?
You would have to establish your outfitter license, and then you have to get all your guides to Bismarck, North Dakota in the summer sometime, like let's call it July 15th or whatever, and they've got to take a test there, a in-person written exam. So I knew guys that were guiding there this year. I mean, they were all headed to North Dakota last summer, flying or driving across country to go take that dumb test, and then able to get their guide license and legally guide out there. So that's what they had to do.
So the guys that made the switch from Canada to North Dakota were early enough to where they could get that ball rolling and get the tests and get all the licenses done. It wasn't a spur of the moment, oh shit, it's August and I need to figure out plan B.
No, it would have been like April, probably, figuring it out, and then making moves early, finding a lodge, finding property, ground.
And that was still early in all this shit. I mean, shit, you're talking last April.
Yeah, nobody knew for sure. We was all locked down still. You couldn't go nowhere.
I saw a funny meme on Facebook that said a year ago this week was our last normal week, and nobody fucking knew it.
Yep.
Happy 1 year anniversary.
Though,
just 2 weeks.
There's a lot. There's
2 weeks, flatten the curve.
There is a
flatten the curve.
There is a lot of people out there that have hunted in North Dakota for 20 or 30 years. Went to their same old little farmhouse they went to every year, and they went to go look around and they're like, "What the fuck happened here?" You know, there's nobody ever here.
Surprise!
Who the fuck told these people about North Dakota?
We hunted in a little town, and we went 2 years in a row. And there was a group of guys from Virginia there and a group of guys from North Carolina there. And that was us. Now, we were the outsiders.
Right.
And they were very nice guys. You know, they'd tell us about birds here and there.
Because they were leaving.
They were leaving. And they'd been there for a week or 10 days. And then the other group there. But I'll bet you last year there was a lot more than 3 of them.
There'd been some tight lips around there.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying shit.
Yep.
I ain't telling you where I see those fucking birds. You hit the road like I did. Shit. I wonder if North Dakota wishes that they could kind of do like South Dakota where you got to get drawn. I wonder if that's coming. If Canada stays closed too many more years, I wonder if North Dakota does that.
I don't know.
Because that kept out a lot of riffraff in South Dakota, I would feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, they had a kind of a buyback on their licenses. If you didn't want to go, they would have bought your license back and then reissued them for sale or whatever. But, yeah, that would have been the big difference between North Dakota and South Dakota last year was just the lottery versus no lottery.
I wish every state would enact the guide's license and outfitter license.
Yes, I do too.
I think it cuts out so many of these fly-by-night guys, all these college kids that, you know, especially like up in Lubbock, kind of where you were. There's so many college kids that go up to Tech, and then them and their buddies have a couple dozen decoys, and it's just the amount of pissing contests that I've heard about out there throughout the years. If there was an outfitter's license, that shit wouldn't happen because those college kids wouldn't put up with that. I mean, they wouldn't fucking do it.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know why states don't do it.
It's typically those young kids or younger guys that, you know, just full of piss and vinegar and testosterone, and they're looking to, they don't care what it takes to get a field or get permission or whatever. They'll, you know, whatever. It's a lot of dirty stuff out there, and you hear about it quite a bit. And typically the older guys that have been established for a while that would go and get the outfitter license and guides license, and that would put in the time to get that stuff. Those guys are typically a little bit more sensible, maybe, if you will.
I just wish you'd have to have a liability insurance. Everybody should have $1 million liability insurance policy. That would cut out a lot of riffraff. The guy that wants to hunt on his own with his friends, I got no problem with that. But the guys that are calling themselves guides and taking money from people, they need some more. They need some kind of structure. The problem is you don't want to get the government involved with anything because then you're just bending over. Because look how everything else goes that the government's involved with.
I think it's worked out for North Dakota, though. So, I mean...
Yeah, that's not a bad deal at all.
We just got $1.9 trillion added onto the deficit. I don't think having a fucking guides license in Texas is going to be the end-all, be-all for us.
No, I agree with you on that.
Just pump the brakes here. How have you heard anything about the snow goose season yet? How are guys doing with it?
They got this warm snap. I mean, it's almost as warm here as it is there. And the snow geese have the afterburners on, and they're headed north real fast right now. So I don't know where they spent the night last night, if it was in Missouri, but they're probably going to spend the night in Canada tonight for some of them. But I think it's been going. I think it's been going really good. I mean, I talked to a lot of guys that have been hunting in Arkansas, and during that cold snap and the snowpocalypse, a lot of guys beat the shit out of them down there. And a couple of them said they were cleaning snow geese and breasting them out, and they got each breast was about a quarter cup worth of meat. Like they were starving. They were trying to eat. And I don't know if that was how widespread that was.
Well, I mean,
but they were struggling.
I don't know where they would go to. I mean, all of Texas was locked up down to fucking Mexico.
I guess you had to go to Cuba.
Yeah.
I mean, where are you going to go?
Cancun.
And that was 10 days. These poor birds didn't know what the fuck to do. They left Canada to get away from this shit, and it just followed them here. I don't know. It's just been a weird year because, like you said, we had that snowpocalypse, and I'm sure that pushed a bunch down. And then it got warm, and now it's too warm.
When does this?
I feel bad. I couldn't be a snow goose hunter. It's hard enough fucking killing birds where I'm at. I don't want to have to deal with that shit for 6 weeks.
When does the season end?
Ooh. Snow goose hunting?
Yes.
Oh man, like May 15th or 20th or something like that. It's crazy.
The reason I asked, somebody was talking about they were trying to find out if they could go May 15th. I thought, you ain't getting across that fucking border,
right?
Well, no, you're not getting there.
I can't imagine snow goose hunting in May.
So I dreamt up a hunt, and I was going to go on it last year, but border got shut down. But I'm going to run up to Churchill, Manitoba. I think I'm going to take the train up there, and there's a train that comes out of Winnipeg and goes up to Churchill, and it's like a 2-day train ride. And you can throw decoys on the train and guns and all that stuff. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to drive up there, jump on the train, get a train ticket, head up there, because a plane ticket is like, to fly into Churchill, I could drive to Winnipeg. That's 2.5 hours for me, something like that. And then I fly into Churchill, but it's like a $2,000, $1,500 plane ticket or something like that to get up there. So I'll just hop on the train, try it out. And I was gung-ho, ready to go last year. I had everything all lined up, and then border got shut down. But the goose hunting's really good up there. May, it's like around the 20th or something like that. There's a few days where it's the skies are about black with them coming through, and I don't know how much decoying there is to do. It's just probably glorified pass shooting with some decoys in front of you or whatever. But
that's way the fuck up there. Okay, I'm looking at it on a map.
I'm gonna be the devil's. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here. I got a buddy of mine that's been there a few times.
Churchill.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you're gonna end up being polar bear shit if you don't watch out.
I think that's in the fall.
Them bears don't leave.
Spring? Yeah, I think they do.
Where do they go to?
I don't know. I'm going to tell my wife they do.
No, they're fucking there year round. I got a buddy of mine that's a pilot, and he flew people up there, like some rich people from Fort Worth. They wanted to go up there and take fucking pictures of these bears, and he said they put you on these Tundra buses. It's got tracks on them like a tank, and it's a bus. And he said they got a little Indian guy there, and he takes you out, or Eskimo or whatever they are, takes you out there, and he would blow a whistle. And when he blew a whistle, you were supposed to run and get on the bus. And he said when you get on that bus, you're supposed to run all the way to the back of the bus, not step at the front door. And he said they practice this shit. He said he asked that guy, he said, you got on some new Nikes. He said, I thought you said you couldn't outrun them bears. He goes, I ain't got to outrun them bears. I just got to outrun one of y'all. But he said these fucking bears would come up and look in the windows and shit at him, standing flat-footed. And you're going to be out there in the fucking goose spread, right?
Yep.
You can do it.
Good luck.
If there's anybody that can do it, it's Cory Loeffler.
I'm going to try it.
That would be a hell of an adventure. I mean, are you going to you going to Uber a truck?
Yeah. Yep. You can rent Suburbans up there, no problem.
Oh, that would work.
They're cheap. Wow. They're cheap, too.
That's because they don't tell you about the polar bears. Some guys don't come back.
Yep. That's how they get you up there. In Ontario, there's a place called Polar Bear Provincial Park, and you're way north of that. So
I'm telling you, it's fucking bear central.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Churchill, Manitoba is polar bear capital of the world.
Evidently.
So,
and they don't bother you?
Just tell my wife that they migrate. They migrate the North Pole or something.
Try to get a bunch more life insurance.
Yeah, they get on the sea ice and then they just leave. They're not there in the springtime. They're calving somewhere.
Now, you've hunted in Canada before, right? A lot of times, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When we hunted in Canada, in Texas, when you go park the truck and you got to walk back to the spread, you ain't got to worry about shit. A coyote ain't going to bother you. A wild pig ain't going to bother you. But when we were in Canada and I parked the truck, I was worried about fucking bears, get trampled by a fucking moose, a wolf.
Nope.
Now, Churchill, I'm worried about a damn polar bear.
Yeah.
The apex
polar bear. If they see something moving, they view it as food.
My fat ass is going to look like a ham.
Roasted turkey. Just sitting there waiting on them.
Well, I hope you chronicle
black bears,
this.
Moose, that's no big deal. But
I hope you chronicle this because that would be a hell of an adventure. I've never heard anybody hunting up there, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that do it. I just didn't know nothing about it. But
I've got one friend that his parents own like an outfitter service up there, and that one's way too much money for me. But I've talked to a few people that have hunted up there, so I think I got it.
It's not a novel thing, Jeff. People do it all the time. It'll be fine.
I'm sure they are. Good luck to you. The train ride sounds really cool, though.
He's got a gun. Yeah. He's got a gun.
You ain't gonna do it, but piss a polar bear off.
You never know, Jeff. It's like you just got to slap that fucker right in the nose, and away he goes.
We had a client of ours that shot one with a bow back in the 70s or something. Was here, and he was telling me about it. I'm thinking, you guys set a nuts on you, dude. I mean, to sit in a fucking igloo, and basically you're the bait. They smell you and they come up, and then you shoot with a bow. Fuck that.
No, I'll pass.
I wonder what your poundage has to be on something like that. Surely you got to. I don't know anything about bow hunting, but I'm assuming you have to ratchet that motherfucker up to have some oomph on that arrow.
And probably get a pass around a polar bear's 70-pound bow. I think wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, but if you miss the mark by just a little bit.
What's your bow? What's your bow set at?
63, 65. Whitetails, no big deal.
But you're shooting big ass whitetail too. A whitetail for you is 200 pounds, isn't it?
I shot one a couple years ago. A big mature buck that probably would have went around 300 on the hoof.
Holy fuck!
So just 7 times bigger for that polar bear. Just 2,000 pounds.
300 pounds for a deer.
Mm-hmm. On the hoof with guts in him. He field dressed, so I couldn't find a scale the night that I shot him, and couldn't find one then. So I skunned him, quartered him, and then had all the pieces laying out, drying for 2 days. And then a buddy of mine came over with a scale, and we threw all the pieces on there, and it still weighed 220 pounds. And so that's with no guts and drying out for a couple days. So yeah, that was big old buck. He looked like a damn horse laying there.
How do you throw him in your pickup?
Cool. It sucked with two people, and it sucked. It wasn't fun.
I had a guy here. We had pig hunters this last weekend, and he shot a big deer in Iowa. I think it was 225, 250. He was by himself. Shoots this fucker with his bow, and he just has to MacGyver it and figure out how to create a pulley system in the back of his pickup. The sun's going down. He said it was a nightmare getting this fucker. He finally got it to where
that would suck.
One leg was kind of half-ass up there, and then the antlers were maybe touching the tailgate, and he just had to He-Man it. He had enough under it to where he could just kind of get a little bit something on it. But fuck. A good friend of mine hunts in Ohio. Same type deal. Now I know why these guys get back there and have a fucking heart attack, because it's a lot of work bow hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did. He didn't have a heart attack, but he's out of shape, fat and out of shape. Shoots this bow, shoots the deer with a bow, and now he's got to drag the fucker back to his pickup. His big ass can't do that.
Quarter it out, pack it out.
I guess.
Or shoot him in South Texas and just throw them over your shoulders and walk out.
Did you see some of the? So you were down here pig hunting just 10 days ago, weren't you? No, it was longer. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Did you see any deer while you were down here? I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah, piles of them. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just look like little fucking.
Well, we got some 225 pound.
Oh no, we fucking don't.
No, we do.
You're high, Jeff.
No, I'm not.
They look like greyhounds with horns.
No, you get out in South Texas, they do in the hill country. Our deer around here are 225 pounds.
What are you smoking?
Okay, here we go again. We do this shit every fucking episode. We're going to call the game warden, and you're going to ask him if it's unusual to shoot a 200-pound deer around here. He's going to say no. It's not. But there's a big damn difference between a 300-pound deer and a 200-pound deer. And there's a big fucking difference between a 2,000-pound fucking polar bear and a 300-pound deer. So
are they? They're not 2,000 pounds, are they?
No. You look them up.
I'm going to look them up right now. Here goes Jeff again, fucking spouting off at the mouth. He has no clue.
Have you ever seen a polar bear?
900, I bet.
Oh, no. They're a lot bigger than that shit. Fucking grizzly bear weighs 12 or 1,400.
I don't even know. Buckshot can take care of it.
Fuck yeah, it can.
What's it weigh, Andy?
Normally an adult polar bear weighs from 750 to 1,450.
Well, I was way off then. I thought they were bigger than that. What's a grizzly bear weighs that much then? I thought a polar bear was a lot bigger than a grizzly bear.
There he goes moving the goalpost. He loses his argument and he just fucking moves that goalpost.
I was wrong. All I know is I seen one mounted in the fucking airport in Fairbanks or Juneau, Alaska. That was a big son of a bitch.
I'm sure it was. James.
And I was looking at his asshole and trying to figure out how big a turd I'd have to be like, I'm gonna be shooting out of that son of a bitch. So
he wouldn't have to eat the rest of the winter.
Yeah.
After he digests your big ass.
Well, Cory, we appreciate you. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Well, we were hunting caribou up in the Brooks Range, way up or north of the Brooks Range, and one of the guys that was in camp, he went out with a rifle 5 miles from the Hall Road and ended up shooting a grizzly bear up there. So we were all caribou hunting with our bows, and then he shot that, brought that back to camp. But that was like a 13-year-old sow, his interior grizzly. So they survived mostly on some fish in the streams, but I think mostly berries and probably caribou calves and stuff like that. So they're not as big and fat as the coastal bears that are eating all the salmon. But so that thing was probably only, I don't even know if it was like 400, 500 pounds or something.
This says male grizzlies weigh from 395 to 790. Females 285 to about 400. So yeah, you're right in there.
Interior.
You didn't eat this grizzly, did you?
Yeah, I eat everything, man.
You did? What was that like? An old sow?
Not great. It was tough to choke down. It's like a really powerful flavor. And the coastal bears, like you almost can't eat those. They're horrible. But
just
this
because
one
of
would
their
have been
diet?
like good.
The coastal bears?
Diet. Yeah, the dead fish diet.
Powerful flavor is what he said. That's not something you see on a menu at a restaurant. It's a powerful flavored meat.
It's it'll bite you back. I can't describe it. It just is hard to swallow.
We
ate it.
If you're in the woods and you can't eat shit, it's fucking bad because you're hungry then.
Hey, I did eat some Timberwolf backstrap.
What's that like?
Not too long ago. That is very mild and has a very beef-like texture, consistency.
It's because of meeting all the fucking cows everywhere.
Yeah, well, white-tailed deer. So we were joking around. I said I was eating Timberwolf backstrap. I said I've never eaten this many venison backstraps in one sitting in my life.
Yeah. They're running over y'all in Minnesota, aren't they?
Yeah, we've got them all over the place here.
And they won't
Wisconsin
let you kill
just
them.
had a season on them, and they killed the shit out of them.
That's good for them.
200-300 of them in a day or 2 days or whatever. So
they need to kill about 7,000 of them.
Now, when did they finally open up the season on them? That's recent, isn't it?
They did in Minnesota.
Yeah, like in Wisconsin, it was like 2 weeks ago, or it was like a week and a half ago or something like that. And we've had season in Minnesota when they were delisted and they were all lumped together, and then the tree huggers came and split them all apart and wrecked that whole deal. So I think we had a season in Minnesota for 2 years, and I never did. I don't even think I applied for a tag or drew a tag in Minnesota. But some good friends of mine were real successful with that, trapping them and shooting them. So
it was all
cool.
It was all trapping it. You didn't like call it in like you see with the coyote with like the varmint hunts or anything like that?
Some guys did. Yep.
Oof.
That had hunting licenses.
That would make your hair stand up.
Do y'all have elk in western? Y'all have elk in western Minnesota, don't you?
Yeah, northern Minnesota, right along the Canadian border. Actually, some of the world record stuff, some of the biggest ones that you'll find.
That's what I was thinking.
Huge stuff.
Now,
450 inches.
Are the wolves killing them real bad too?
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, they're Anybody thinks it's a good fucking idea to bring a bunch of wolves is fucking idiot. Yeah. I mean, every state you go to, it's that way.
Yeah, you just won't hear any government official DNR. They will never say wolf and elk or moose in the same sentence.
Right.
Like it's forbidden. I think you'll just get fired immediately if you put those two words in the same sentence. So you'll never hear them say anything. But and they always blame black bears. Like our moose are dying off like crazy around here, and they're like, well, it could be predation. We're thinking maybe black bears or possibly wolves. And it's like, no, it's
them fucking wolves is what it is.
It's wolves.
Shoot every one of them some bitches. Every place I know that has reintroduced them has hated it. I think what they need to do is take them fucking wolves and put them inside that goddamn cage in Washington, D.C. and let them eat. Let them go.
Let them go.
That's right.
That's hateful, Jeff.
It is hateful, and I mean it.
And it's not. It's like if you ever see a wolf on a baby elk or something, it's not pleasant. Like they start at the fucking tutor and they work their way to the nose.
Yeah, absolutely. I can about imagine if you let a wolf go inside the Capitol, and one of them took a bite of Nancy Pelosi, it'd probably turn around and start licking its asshole.
Oh, I'm telling you, to get the taste out of its mouth. There ain't no doubt about that shit.
Just all plastic.
I'd be like, ooh, that old cunt's nasty.
Hey, I didn't know her and JFK were an item.
Yeah, he tapped that ass.
Back when she was in her 20s.
Yeah.
Might be why.
He wrecked it.
He wrecked it. God dang. If that's what her face looks like, I don't want to see her vagina.
There's some poor old bastard every night has to go to bed with her. Ooh.
Poor bastard.
But she's got fake cans, though.
Yeah. Cory, we're going to let you off of here before you say anything incriminating. It's been a lot of fun, though.
Well,
wouldn't
be the first time.
We've gone well over an hour, so I appreciate your time.
Right.
It's been we've been trying to get you on here for a while. I'm glad we finally got to do it.
Hell yeah, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Hey, we
appreciate
guys. Appreciate you being on here. I hope you have a good spring. God bless you, and take care of yourself.
And give people your website.
Yeah,
real quick.
Oh, drccalls.com. I screw around a lot on Instagram, so come and follow me over there. Just on the Cory Loeffler Instagram page. We have a lot of fun cooking stuff, and we're gonna be making all that meat all that hog that we killed down in Texas. We probably brought on those 2 trips. I bet. Oh shit! Probably 600-800 pounds of pork home with us.
Fuck.
And we're going to be grinding it, or we've ground most all of it. So we're going to be making a bunch of sausage and posting that stuff up here. So I'm sausage party.
I'm going to get more feedback from this on the Timberwolves. People about you eating the Timberwolf. You watch.
And you said it was just kind of like had a beef flavor to it. Not bad at all.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, it was definitely. We cooked the shit out of it. It was well done. So it would have been the same. It would have been really similar to taking a piece of prime rib and cooking it well done, which I would never do. But I mean, it was a damn Timberwolf, so you're not going to eat it raw or rare, So, but very, very similar flavor to beef tenderloin or beef backstrap, prime rib.
I've heard mountain lion is really good to eat too.
See, that would surprise me because I could see a wolf tasting better because I don't know if I think wolves only eat like fresher meat. I don't think that they bury mountain lion will bury their shit and come back to
usually
it, won't they?
No, they're a fresh meat eater too. A bear will bury that shit.
A bear will bury it.
So when you're going through that polar bear's asshole, you'll be with a bunch of dead shit.
One way, a long time ago, we used to do pork out here until we had a big fiasco. But anyway, we would dig a pit and then we would burn a fire real hot and then we would get the bed of coals, wrap up your pork, put on top of the coals, and then put some metal over the top of it, put coals on it, and kind of cook it that way. It was good. We'd have wild hog fajitas so my mom runs the kitchen, and one night, I guess the fire or something wasn't quite right.
No, it was just some blood tainted meat.
Oh, it was just bad.
Just bad. It was just a hog. It wasn't a big pig either. It just was bad. And you opened that fucking foil packet up.
It smelled like old assholes in here. My mother,
nasty.
And she's already she doesn't do wild game, deer, geese, nothing. When that smell hit her kitchen, she about had a fucking conniption fit.
I assume that's what fucking
she was ready to quit.
Nancy Pelosi's Depends smelled like. It was bad. I mean, bad.
I don't remember it. I just remember the ramifications of we no longer do wild hog fajitas out here, and they were delicious. I always thought. So, how are you planning on doing all yours? Sausage? You gonna grill any?
Sausage out of sausage. Yep, just grind it, and there's some ground formed bacon stuff. I'm working on a couple recipes, a couple sausage seasoning recipes that I'm hoping to come out with sometime in the near future. So do some of that. I've done some really, really good just sliced thin sandwich meat in the past, but I had a big ass pellet grill, so we'll finish it all on there, smoke it that way. And what else? My wife wanted to try some old fashioned wieners, for the kids, boil up some hot dogs, whatever, see if that's edible. Polishes, summer sausage, but we got enough to go around. So
if a couple batches come out fucked up, then it's not a total loss.
No. Yeah. They make more every day, right, boys?
That's right. We had pig hunters here this last weekend, and those animals are so fucking tough. The guy shoots one, and I guess it had got hit by a car. He gets it back here, and he didn't, because he shot it. It was dark, I guess. Gets it back here to cut it open, and like one side of it was just ripped apart and fucking gangrene and just mold in it. And the only thing he can think of is that it got hit by a car and just somehow made it back. But that shit was starting to heal, and it was fucking, it was a bad deal. They're tough fucking animals, though.
And you know what's funny? We won't walk across the street to shoot one.
Right.
It's just a whole different deal. We don't ever think about even shooting a pig.
Yeah.
That's why you guys got so many of them. Start whacking them.
They shoot a lot of them down here. I just don't care about it. I mean, doesn't interest me much.
Yeah.
Different folks, different strokes.
That's right. All right, Cory, thank you, sir. You have a good day, bud.
Hey, you too. Thanks a lot, guys.
I'm going to text you, and I'm going to have you send me a picture of that fucking contraption you got on wheels.
I got a YouTube video. I'll send it over.
Well, fuck, I'll just go on YouTube then. Won't bother you.
Private link.
Oh, okay.
Private link.
Oh.
I'll text me.
Gotcha. All right, Cory, we appreciate you, bud. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cory Loeffler. That was fun.
God rest his soul if he goes up there and tries to fuck with them polar bears.
Nah. Everybody's doing it nowadays, Jeff. You just got to have a set of balls on you.
Mm-hmm. You ever seen that old picture of that guy running around his truck and that polar bear's chasing him?
No.
He's on one end of the truck. It's kind of like, trying to play tag like on next Friday with Day and the fat girl trying to take his snacks. And he's running and that fucking polar bear's chasing his ass. And I was like, wondered how that ended up.
I don't know. I've seen the video of like the turkey chasing the guy around, so I'm scared enough of a fucking turkey chasing
Imagine
me.
a fucking polar bear eating your
Imagine
ass.
a polar bear. Don't they say like when you're hunting them, you look for 3 dots, the nose and the 2 eyes, and that's all you see coming out of the snow?
I have no fucking clue. I don't want anything that's hunting me.
But I think that's what they say. I think they say you look for like those 3 dots because that's all you see of this thing until it gets close enough.
And they're pissed off right now anyways.
The polar bears?
Fuck yeah.
Because it's cold?
They lost their fucking job with Coke.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm not a...
They're fucked.
And I was a Coke guy, too. Not the booger sugar, Coca-Cola. Not anymore. I can't be any less white.
I watched an interesting show last night. It was about the Coke Wars between Pepsi and Coca-Cola, and from when it all started. And most of this happened during my lifetime, but I forgot until last night that Coca-Cola decided one day they were going to change the recipe.
Yeah, new Coke.
Yeah, new Coke.
New Coke.
What kind of dumb bastard comes up with that? You know what? Let's take something that's the number 1 selling soft drink in the world, been here since 1858 or whatever it was, and let's do away with it and start out with a new one.
I bet he worked for Dr. Pepper.
Well, I don't know if he ended up getting fired, but it ended up didn't work. But that was my senior year in high school when that shit happened. Well, people were pissed, and they got rid of it and come back with Coke Classic. But I'm just saying, boy, looking back, that's one of the dumbest ideas in corporate world you could do.
Cory's quick with that fucking link. I've already got it. I can't show you common folk on YouTube, but
that's fine. All right, let's get off here. Thank y'all for listening to us. Have a great week.
What an ending, Jeff.
Yep.
And be sure to go check out all of our great sponsors. As always, we have Foul Bandits. Use their promo code Stanfield Hunting Outfitters, Athletic Brewing Company, Gundog Outdoors, Boss Shot Shells, Dive Bomb Industries, Dirty Duck Coffee, Blind Grass, Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Duck Club, Pacific Calls. They've also got a promo code BHP25, 25% off. William Chris Wines, and 14 Cattle Code.